Hey, good afternoon, everybody. This is Steve Monday, Chief Forecaster with Rowan County Weather, back with another edition of the Rowan County Weather Podcast. And we've got another return guest here today with us. As a matter of fact, she was our first two-time guest, and now, believe it or not, she is our first three-time guest.
Right.
Lauren West, the coach of the Carson Cougars. Not only does she coach the boys soccer team, which we talked about back in the fall, she also coaches the girls soccer team, which we're here to talk about today. Coach, welcome back.
Thank you. I'm glad to be back.
Yeah, absolutely. So, girls soccer season just getting underway. So, for folks that don't know, go ahead and kind of recap where you are so far with the season.
We're just starting conference. We had our first conference meet this past week and our match, excuse me, this past week. And we're kind of trying to find our way, just put it like that. I talked to you in the fall and I was like really excited about girls season in the spring and I mean I still am. But we have had like the worst run of bad luck I believe I've ever seen in like my years of coaching. We've had two very important players of ours. Allie Martin, which I told you
Yep.
was like our top goal scorer,
Mhm.
who tore her ACL in the fall playing club soccer. And then the first weekend, so I would say like 3 days into the season, like on the fourth day, we had a jamboree at West Cabarrus. We participated in that
Yep.
for the first time. And my other starting center attack and mid tore her ACL as well. So then it's just been, injury after injury and just trying to figure out where people like what we have left can be the most successful at, like position that they're most successful at. And we've been moving things around and trying new things. And I bet you we've had about 6 or 7 different types of injuries this season where one player gets hurt in a game and has to sit, for a little bit, like a couple games. And then when they come back, another one gets hurt. And it's been kind of I think stressful for the entire team, because they never know where they're going to be playing because I mean we have to kind of move on and try to make the best of the situation and put people in places that they're not really comfortable in positions playing. So it has definitely not been the start of the season that I was expecting or really hoping for, but we've seen a lot of positive things lately. Our first game we ended up losing, but we played some of the best passing soccer that I've seen from this team in a lot of years. Our problem was that we're very young and, we were struggling a little bit to finish the opportunities we had. We had multiple opportunities to score goals, and we just didn't. And so when you have those opportunities and you don't capitalize on them, and then you make a mistake, and somebody else is able to score on it, those mistakes, then that is the difference between a win and a loss. And so the first game, I was proud of what I saw from my team overall, but just not. Thrilled with the official outcome on paper because we weren't able to finish our opportunities. But I mean, I guess it's to be expected because we are so young. I mean, we have 10 freshmen this year on the varsity team, and it's been a long time since we had 10 freshman players on a varsity team. And so, to put things in perspective, we have 3 seniors, 3 returning seniors, and 5 juniors, and one of them is Allie, who is out, and then 3 sophomores, and one of them is Scarlett, that is out with a torn ACL as well. So
Wow.
we're very, very young, and so with that youth comes nerves. Because it is definitely, and we talked about this with the boys season, is a huge jump in play level between middle school and high school soccer, because you've got 14-year-olds playing against 18-year-olds, and their bodies have developed differently and their muscles have developed differently. And it is, kind of like a little bit of culture shock. And I think for us right now, we're trying to adjust to that culture shock, or the freshmen are trying to adjust for that jump, excuse me, from middle school to high school, and we're trying to adjust from all the injuries that we've had. So kind of a rough start, definitely, but definitely a lot of potential too. So we were at practice yesterday and I was doing a little bit of stuff with the offense and moving some people in different positions, and actually saw some really good things and that made me excited about next week. So looking forward to hopefully building on that success at practice and just continuing on down the positive path.
Yeah, definitely. Now you mentioned Allie, and I did see her back at when I was at the boys' game versus East. Back in the fall, I
Mhm.
saw her and spoke with her, and of course the injury was really kind of fresh then. How much more recovery time do you think she's going to need before she's able to get back out on the pitch?
She is out for the entire season.
Oh wow,
Yeah, so which is heartbreaking news whenever I found out in October.
yeah,
But I mean, one thing about Allie Martin is you never count Allie Martin out.
yeah,
So I mean, I'm not expecting her to be back at all, but I just know that when she comes back, it's going to be a jolt of energy into our program for sure because she is such a remarkable player. In my opinion, one of the best players to ever come through Carson, and if not pretty close to it, as far
yeah,
as being uh, the best. And I don't ever say that. So just, I mean, just, you got to appreciate talent when you see it and, leadership as well. And she was a leader on our field and starting up our season the way that we did, you could definitely see that we missed that leadership because when you have a player that's impactful as Ali is, and you have her in a position like center attack and mid, your center attack and mid pretty much directs your offense in a lot of ways. I mean, they're the ones who are distributing. You kind of put players in position that have vision for the field, and she has great vision. And I think we've just been struggling a little bit to adjust to missing that vision, and because our players are so used to her, kind of taking command there and just distributing and starting things off. And just that absence of her presence on the field has at the jamboree for sure. I could see they just struggled to figure it out. And then with Scarlett and Allie played together. Scarlett actually played a holding mid position for me, and then moved up into center attack and mid. And so they're used to playing with one another. But with Scarlett being out and she having that vision as well, it's been okay. Like who are we going to put in there? And so I'm lucky that I do have some leaders, some, that have talent on this team and that have kind of taken command or are really trying, to take command now and distribute things. Lex Lith Sotelo, I think I mentioned to you last fall when I was talking about girls season. I mean, she's a great player. And I have kind of used her back and forth between a forward because she is confident attacking the goal, and used her as a center attack in mid because she also has vision. And so does Liz Romero. Same thing, Liz will play anywhere I ask her to, and she's going to give 150% when she plays. And she has vision as well. And so we were actually working with her yesterday. I was working with her and one of my freshmen that I'm excited, actually two of my freshmen that I'm excited about this season. Kaylee Morocco and Allie, another Allie, Allie Cook, who Allie is playing more of a center forward position. And Kaylee, who started out as a CDM, center defensive midfielder for me, has that vision too. And so, like, I look long term, down the road, I know that I'm going to probably put her in center attack in mid position, down the road for sure. But this, very early on in this season, I wanted to keep her as a center defensive mid because she's a good defender, and we kind of needed that help back there with the defense because I didn't have some of the returning defenders that I thought I was going to have coming back. And so, and she's done a remarkable job there. But I kind of made the decision yesterday that I'm going to move Kaylee on up because she's such strong presence in the midfield, and we kind of need that moving forward, like offensively. And so we were working yesterday, and Liz was working. Where I'm going back to what we were talking about, Liz kind of took command and said, "Okay, Kaylee, I'm going to do this, and I want you to do this to work off of me." Um, and they were kind of gelling there for a little bit. And same thing with Allie, and her and Allie were working together, and it was a cool thing to see, like to see the clicks starting to happen, and I was like, yes, thank you. So I mean, it's in seasons like this is tough, and I know that I feel it in my my players obviously are going to feel the same thing too. But, I'm really proud of like their perseverance. They're just like, okay, well, what we got to do to make this better. And so that's all you hope for. Like when you have leaders there that may not have been the leader before, but they kind of fill that void in leadership and kind of push the younger ones. All right, let's, how can we work together? And they kind of lead them. And so that's what's happening on our team. And I'm very excited about it. I'm excited to see what we can do this season. And I'm really excited about next season for sure.
Definitely, yeah, especially with all the experience they're gathering this season for sure. Now, even though the season's just getting started, these girls have actually been working pretty hard for a couple of months now. I know seeing some posts on social media from you back, I want to say it was might have even been before the Christmas break. They were already hitting the weight room and stuff like that. So, how much of a commitment are your players putting in, like in terms of a calendar year for getting ready for the season?
Well, we started, I would say like in October.
Yeah,
I started doing things like mid to late October with them, if not early November for sure. But actually, it was mid October, and then we would go 2 days a week in the weight room and in the mornings, like early mornings. So they had to be there at like 6. I think I had them there at 6:45 or something, six
yeah,
fifty so that we could work out and then they have enough time where they can get ready before school starts at 8:30. And so I've had quite a bit of them show up, especially towards the end when it was getting closer and closer to season. You start seeing more come out, but it's kind of expected because I think about in high school, like would I have gotten up that early to go to a weightlifting workout? And I mean, obviously I had that drive where I was going to, but I'm not saying it wouldn't been a struggle, but so I've been impressed. A lot of the freshmen were the ones that were coming regularly and putting in that work, and the ones that were coming early are not the ones that are hurt either. So and that's the whole point of like weightlifting preseason
yeah,
for me is building strength in your muscles. I mean, I'm not trying to get you buff. I'm just trying to get your muscles strong enough to where when we start, playing and practicing off the bat and going to, 2.5 hour practices. And then you've got, the games that are essentially 80 minutes at least. And, if you go into overtime, obviously that's more. Your body needs that strength in order to get through something like that. So, been impressed with them and the work that they've been putting in. And a lot of them have been freshmen and sophomores, and I've had a couple seniors there, like leading. And Haley Feehan's another one, and I didn't mention her before, but she's the one who's been in every single weightlifting that we've had, and she's kind of a quiet person, but she does have such leadership as far as her ability on the field. And so it's been kind of neat to see her awaken a little bit this year, because I don't know if it's just her senior year and she's ready to go, or if she just finally has that confidence where she can do it. So it's been interesting how things have started out. But I see some positive. I see a lot of positive in it, moving forward throughout the seasons.
yeah, definitely. So I did want to ask, you mentioned earlier that, some of these players are coming straight from middle school into high school, and it's a big difference in the game, obviously. You mentioned like 14-year-olds and they're playing 18-year-olds, and there's a
Yeah.
big change in how the 18-year-olds have adjusted and all that. Charlotte FC just recently, who I obviously deal with, they just recently had a 16-year-old move up their legacy program, and now he's playing professional Major League Soccer, which that's really kind of unheard of, obviously. And these legacy programs are starting to take place for that. But do any of your players see anything like that? Does that motivate them in any way to go, wow, that's pretty quick? I know it's different for the girls, obviously, because we just don't have a Major League Soccer league for girls, and I wish we did. But I mean, does it still have some sort of impact on them in terms of getting ready for college?
I mean, yeah, we do have WSL, like,
Yeah,
and they definitely follow that. I know a couple of times in the past, I was actually
right.
looking through my phone where we've taken trips and stuff as teams up there to carry, to watch
Yeah,
Carolina Courage play and things. But as far as MLS wise, I can't really answer that question
yeah.
if they follow that or not.
Mhm.
Because I really just haven't had that conversation with them. I definitely can tell you for sure for the boys, because especially, one of my players who started for
Yeah,
me a year ago, Chato,
yep.
actually had to leave us halfway through the season because he took one of those spots and went into that program, the academy and everything. And so, I mean, I'm so excited for him. As what an incredible opportunity that's going to provide him in the future to be hopefully a Major League Soccer player, And so, and I think that does motivate them, that they could do something like that. But we definitely don't have for the girls, the same stuff as what you're talking
Right.
about for the guys. And so, I do have players that want to play in college, that are putting in that effort and definitely have the potential to do it. But I don't know that MLS is what motivates them. It's more for them
Right.
of, essentially getting that opportunity to continue on because they have such a passion for the sport.
Yeah,
So
absolutely. Yeah, I was just looking more from the age range of someone they can kind of understand a little bit from being so close in age to each other. And I know, like I said, it's really kind of apples to oranges because of the fact that there is such a discrepancy, obviously, between the boys and the girls when it comes to the pro level. But you're right, the Carolina Courage is a great team to watch and keep up with, and certainly hope to see them continue to do well as they go forward. As we go forward into this season, though, so you've got obviously some big matches as you always do every season. Cabarrus County teams are no exception. I know Lake Norman Charter, if you end up taking them on, is a big deal. But who are you looking for that is going to be your toughest challenge, or at least one of your toughest challenges this season?
The toughest challenge is gonna be Late Norman Charter,
Yeah,
and they've always have such a strong program, and not last year, but the year before, they were the 3A state champions, so
yeah,
like in a way it helps us because when we play in a conference with the 3A state champions or a team that goes very deep into playoffs every year, then that helps our overall like RPI record, and helps us kind of get that edge that we need to get into a playoff game. But it's also tough to have to play that team, especially in years where you're down, and it's discouraging in a lot of ways. And we actually just played them and lost to them, and a lot of my players, especially the freshmen, took it hard. I mean, it's tough, when you play a team like that and you feel really outmatched in a lot of ways. But I mean, all we can do is just keep moving on. And we also will face Northwest Cabarrus is always strong. Central Cabarrus has become like an extremely strong program within the past year or so. And they've been a challenge to us. So I mean, we just keep doing whatever we can do to improve ourselves. And like sometimes when you play teams that you're kind of outmatched because they have a lot of players that play, 365 days a year, and we don't
yeah,
have those programs in Rowan County. You and I've had that conversation before.
yeah,
It's more about like, all right, let's focus instead. Obviously, I want to win, but like, we focus instead realistically on what can we do to improve certain things. And if we're gonna like literally focus on one thing that I want you guys to do better on, or two things that I want you to do better on, and if you can do it well against this team, you can do it against any team that we play, so that's kind of like the goals like that you have when you go into those types of games for sure.
yeah, absolutely. A couple weeks ago, I had Andrew Poston on from East Row End, just talking obviously about girls soccer, and he had some great things to say about all the programs in the county, including some of the coaches. He mentioned you as well as being one of the coaches he admired and really looked to have great competition with. And he talked about a lot of the discrepancies that we see in terms of Cabarrus County and Lake Norman Charter and different things like that. Um, but in general, the county overall seems to be on all levels, boys and girls, getting stronger in
Mhm.
soccer in terms of play on the pitch and things like that. But what do you see that still needs to happen? Obviously, we know we can't control club. That's
Yeah.
something we're going to fight forever, I think. But what do you see that has to happen really to help the county continue to grow the way it has been?
Unfortunately, it's club. That, I would have to
Yeah,
say that, like, it's
yeah,
then you have to I think another thing, first of all, we have to have a foundation, and,
yep,
we've had this conversation before, where, because soccer is not a popular sport here in Rowan County, that there's not a push for there to be some kind of like, beginning program for them. I
right,
mean, I'm not discounting any YMCA or any
sure,
like church rec league at all. It's more of like you have to have some kind of league or have a significant number of young kids going to a league somewhere, even if it's not in Rowan County, to kind of build that foundation of skill. That's, so basics. And then they're able to improve on those skills for years and years to come, whether it's going through, playing through elementary school, going through middle school. And then by the time they're at high school, they have the basics down and you're able to kind of teach them something else, like working together as a team and trying new formations and trying just, new things, but that's a must, or, and I don't necessarily mean like us getting a club, but you have to have a significant number of young people
Yeah.
in our county getting some type of club experience. Unfortunately for us, soccer has kind of in a way become a pay to play type of situation. You need to play club to improve or get viewed as for college. I mean, I don't know of many, I'm not gonna say all because I don't want to lump everybody into this, but like for us, for definitely for soccer, there's not really any college coaches that come to high school games to watch players
Yeah.
unless they've already got their eye on them and they just want to see them in a different aspect. They always go to like club tournaments and stuff to recruit and things, but it costs so much to play, because the tournament prices are so expensive, and then there's travel and that costs a lot for your hotel rooms and traveling, and so because our county isn't not a very rich county, it's more rural, then our population kind of struggles to have their children in those clubs where they're going to get better and stuff. And again, I'm not saying that there can't be a player that just learns in his backyard from a brother and sister or a dad or a mom or whoever, and becomes like a superstar, because we've seen that here in Rowan County happen. But overall, for the county to improve as a whole for soccer, there has to be a significant portion of the county playing it, and that's not necessarily what happens. So that's kind of a big thing. Another thing that I would suggest is more realistic, is that we have middle school coaches and like a connection between the middle school and high school coaches.
Mhm.
I think I've discussed this with you before. It's very hard for me as a coach here at Carson, because of the way that the county and the essentially the lines are drawn out for the county as far as districting lines. It's hard for me to connect with the middle schools a lot because I think I'm the only high school, like ours is the only high school in the county that doesn't have one school just that is a feeder school.
Right.
Like we don't have like one school that you could say all the kids from this school come to Carson. Like,
Yeah.
we have a mixture from like 4 different schools. I mean, you have kids coming from West Middle, you have kids coming from Courier Light, somewhat, not many, but you do have that happen. You have a lot coming from China Grove, a lot coming from Southeast, and actually that's 5. You have some coming from Irwin. So we have
Yeah.
5 like different feeder schools, and there's no way that you can get on the same page with those coaches. As a high school coach, like I can reach out to them and I have conversations with them. I'm not saying that I don't.
Right.
But, if I knew that, hey, I have this school right here that is my feeder program, then I, as a coach, would want to go down there and say, okay, what are you guys doing? What are your formation? Well, this is what I run in high school. Would you be willing to like, work with this? Can I talk to you about things? What's coming up and, who's coming up and what can I do to help you? Do you have questions about things? And be on that same page, but we don't have that. So that's I don't necessarily think that that's a countywide issue. That's more of a
Right.
Carson issue, but it is like I say disconnect, I think, across the board between high school soccer coaches and middle school soccer coaches for sure. And so if we could get on the same page about things, then I think that that would also improve, because when they
Yeah.
come up, I have no, and this is the thing that I've kind of run into this year is that I, as a high school coach, expect or think, I should expect this, that they're going to come up with a level of soccer IQ, that
Right.
there's, that they'll know the basics. They'll know how to
Yeah.
pass a ball. They'll know how to properly kick a ball. They'll know how to position themselves to receive a ball. And know the rules for goalkeeping and other things. And a lot of times they don't. And
Right.
it shocks me, like because I just don't know. what they know. And I don't think about like, hey, when they come up here, I need to teach them that. And so
Right.
like it sets me back a little bit because then I start second guessing like, well, what has this coach taught you? What has this coach not taught you? And then we have to like spend a lot of time going through some of the basics, in order to improve the team. And so that's a big difference, I would say, between our county right now and Cabarrus County,
Yeah.
and not just Cabarrus, but Lake Norman, Mecklenburg, Lake Norman Charter, is that when those players typically, maybe you have a couple, but like the majority of players when they arrive at those schools, they know the basics, and
Yeah.
their coaches don't have to spend as much time going through the basics, with them and teaching them that type of stuff. Where lately, that has been a big issue for me, is because I've got a very youthful team, and some of these youth, not all of them, don't know the basics, and I
Yeah.
have to take time to teach that, and so that takes us away from working on other things because
Yep.
of that. So that's definitely a struggle that I face, and for me, and I can't generalize that across the Rowan County, but I kind of want to, because
Right.
from talking to other coaches, I was talking to the West Rowan coach the other day, and he was saying the same thing. I saw them in the county tournament. I know the South Rowan coach has kind of said that, made mention of
Yeah.
that too, and East Rowan, same thing. Andrew, I've talked to him, and he said, he goes into that, runs into that as well, but they're the ones that are in my conference, and so we have these conversations because of
Yeah.
that. I don't I don't play Salisbury, and I don't play North, so I don't know what they know, and what their struggles they're facing as well. So
Right.
um so
Yep. So, when's your next game?
we play next week. We play Tuesday, we play Thursday and Friday. So we typically have 2 to 3 games a week. Our conference games are always on Tuesday and Friday. And we play Alexander Central next week. Let me pull this
Yeah.
up real quick. I'm sorry.
No, you're
Um,
fine.
let me pull my schedule up. I've got a ton of tabs because I'm a
That's
teacher. I
all
have
good.
1,000 things open. So
Yeah.
let's see. I'll just pull my calendar up. It's a little bit easier.
Yeah.
Okay, so I have next week we have Northwest Cabarrus on
Mhm.
Friday. We're at Central Cabarrus on Tuesday. So we travel on Tuesday. We travel to Alexander Central, which is a new school, or I don't say a new school, but we've never played them before. So this is kind of a new thing for us. And then we play home against Northwest Cabarrus. So we have a challenging week next week. We play some tough Cabarrus County teams for sure. And I bet that Alexander Central is probably a tough team as well. So and then the following week after that, the week right before we go on Easter break, we play South Rowan on Thursday, and then we play at Easter on Tuesday. So I guess I should have said that backwards. Tuesday at East,
Yeah.
and then home against South Rowan. Um, so we've got a full schedule coming up. It's just nonstop, and
Yeah.
most of the time we have 3 games a week because, as I mentioned in the fall, the schedule or the amount of games that you can schedule to increase. The state actually changed that number, and so I try to take advantage of that and schedule games because a lot of them get rained out. So if I can, if I can put some on the schedule, hopefully we'll get a good show for the season.
Any message to the Carson students that might be thinking about coming out to the home games and haven't come yet? What do you got to say to them to get them to come out there?
We love to have you. I mean,
Yeah.
that's the thing is, at New Carson, we talked about this, and other schools, like our
Mhm.
students and our teachers are very good about supporting our
Yeah.
programs and everything, but the students don't really understand the game that much,
Right.
and so they don't come out there because they don't know what's going on with it.
Yeah.
So come on out and I'll show you. I'll
Yeah. There
teach
you go.
you about the game and hopefully get you excited, and hopefully make a soccer fan out of you. So.
Yeah, definitely. I know when I was out, like I said, last fall for you guys taking on East, you did have some students there, and they seemed to be enjoying the atmosphere. It was interesting. You could tell some of them, even though they really didn't know what was going on, they were just cheering, just to be having fun out there. But you could see at times when things were starting to get just a little bit technical, they were like, "What is going on here?"
Yeah. I mean, that's the thing.
Yeah.
Like I said, Rowan County, has not been very familiar with the sport soccer because we don't have really the club or anything here to really expose like the general population to it. But sometimes the students will watch it and someone like, I don't understand this because it just goes on all the time. And there's all these technical things that are happening. But then you got some that are like, hey, this is kind of cool to watch. This is just like really athleticism. And,
Yeah.
that's the truth. I mean, no other sport that I know of around here goes nonstop without having some kind of break in between, or whether it's a halftime, I mean, not halftime, but a timeout, or like changing of quarters or anything like that. We're just non changing of innings.
Yeah.
We just go nonstop, and then it's just pure athleticism because of that. And so that's why
Yeah.
soccer's so exciting, is you never know what's going to happen. Like you definitely have that potential of the underdogs coming up and knocking off good teams, because it's just
Yes.
about heart and about athleticism. And so my team has a lot of heart, and so I'm excited to see what they're going to do this season, moving forward, putting players in different positions, and kind of looking forward to see what some of my freshmen are going to do. I've got two freshman keepers that are battling out, and they're getting better every single day. And I'm super excited that I have a lot of my boys. This is, you're talking about players coming out or students coming out. It's neat to see the teams support one another.
Yes.
A lot of my boys come up like to the field, and they want to help like the girls do things like and teach them things, and the girls will come and support the guys at the games, and then the boys will go to the games and support the girls. And it's exciting to see that your program across the board kind of like intermixing and mingling, and it builds a strong foundation here at Carson.
I know from time to time you do some fundraising for the team. I've seen you out at the football games, and again, the boys and girls are both out there, getting involved in that. You got anything coming up for fundraising at this point, or are you doing that more toward the fall?
Probably towards the fall, because typically what I do is like I'll give a team like a year off. So like last season, spring, excuse me, the girls fundraised and
Yep.
brought in some money. And then this season the boys fundraised and brought in some money. And so we kind of like alternate like programs. One will do it, the other one will take a break, then another one will do it, the other take a break. So that way you're just not overwhelming the
Yep.
population, because every sport around here fundraises, because
Yeah.
we don't have a lot of deep pockets here, because
Right.
we're such a young school and we don't really have that strong alumni base yet.
Right.
I'm not hating on my alumni, but they're just starting out in life, I mean,
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
trying to make ends meet right now. And so
Yeah.
they don't have that extra money to like donate to the athletic
Right.
booster club as much. But the booster club here does support our teams like tremendously. We just got brand new uniforms, and we have a rotation going for teams getting new uniforms. The girls just got theirs this year, the boys are getting brand new ones in the fall. And
Nice.
then if I say, hey, I need some equipment, then they'll be happy to help with whatever I ask for. We just try not to abuse that too much. So yeah.
So something just returned I guess it's been about a month ago now when I saw it, but it had taken several years off, but you guys had brought back the Rowan County Cup. So for
Yeah.
folks that aren't familiar with that, can you explain that real quick?
Yeah, so when I was going through school, like back when the dinosaurs roamed the earth and everything, we actually had a tournament that had actually started, I think, in the 90s, when soccer came into Rowan County. And that was like like best thing like in the season. As a player, I can tell you like that's what we look forward to, because that's where you establish that county bragging rights, like
Yep.
which one's the best team in the county,
Mhm.
and like you get to showcase your talent in front of like citizens and things. And
Mhm.
so, and typically you have like a big turnout for, the Rowan County tournament. It used to be called the Rowan County tournament, because people just kind of want to see those inter-county rivalries going at it and
Yep.
stuff.
Yep.
Um, and so it's something that I was really hoping to bring back, because I actually coached at North Rowan. My first year coaching at North was the last year that they did the Rowan County tournament.
Mhm.
And it was actually at West Rowan. I think the tournament was that year. And then the conferences realigned, and we only had a certain amount of games that you could play, which was 20. So you could have a max of 20. Well, you had teams like Carson and teams like, East Rowan and South Rowan, who are in this 3A conference that it was a 10-team conference. So 18 of their games were taken up right there
Yep.
by, um, you know,
Conference
the
play.
conference
Yeah.
play and stuff. And so they only have 2 games that they can play this non-conference. And the tournament for the lowest seed is at least 3 games,
Yeah.
so the way it was set up, so they couldn't make it work. So it kind of like died out it died out.
Mhm.
And, I'd been talking to coaches. I know I reached out to Matt Parrish a couple times and some of the coaches that have come in and out
Mhm.
during my tenure as head coach here for girls for sure. About like bringing it back because it was so impactful for the players. And I know that because I was a player that loved it.
Yeah.
And so this year felt like the right year because this was the year that our number of games increased. So one of the arguments has been in the past is that, we don't want to lose some of these teams that, we've been playing for a while because it's great competition. And, I might be in a conference with this group that is so much significantly better or so much significantly worse. So I want to add these non-conference games that are going to be more around my level of play, so that like my team can be competitive. And I understand that, as a coach for sure, because I
Sure.
know
Yeah.
the same way, being in a conference with Lake Norman Charter and things like
Mhm.
we want those games that are more realistic for us. And
Mhm.
so we Josh Trexler's my athletic director, and I had talked to Becky Schoaf about it, and I put feelers out before, and the same argument that I was telling you about. And then this year, I was like, look, let's go ahead and let's just get it going. I said
Yeah.
because this is the year if we're going to do it. This is the year to do it because we
Yeah.
have extra games, and so it really wouldn't impact people that much by just adding this tournament in.
Mhm.
Because you're going to play more games, it's just going to be county games.
Yeah.
And so I mean, it really I don't say hurts us, but like it puts my team and like East Rowan and South Rowan and West Rowan in a position where we might play each other 3 games the year, because we're in the same conference with one
Yeah.
another. But they felt very passionately too about wanting to bring it back. Sarah Seyfried, who is the coach at South Rowan,
Yeah.
she was actually my player when I first year I coached here at Carson. So my first head coaching like year here at Carson.
Mhm.
She was one of my seniors. And so her and her assistant coach, Alex Allen, who's also the girls basketball coach
Yep.
at South Rowan. And I was telling them, I was like, I'd like to bring that to the tournament. And they were all about it because they had played in it and they knew how
Yeah.
important that was. And so and then the West Rowan coach was, into it, in the past. And then he left. And so West Rowan got added at the end because I think they were just trying to find a coach and trying to figure out what they were going to do with that. And so, we just made it work. And I had East wanted to be in it, but they had already scheduled games. And so I reached out to Andrew and he said, man, I didn't know it was going to be their first week. I already have games played. And I said, what planned? I said, well, I understand. It's understandable, but he said, keep us in mind for next year. So
Yeah.
I was more about like, okay, well, we want to do this thing. Well, how are we going to do it? And then A.L. Brown reached out and said, hey, do you want to play? And I was like, hey, do you want to play in this tournament? Because I have like a spot open now.
Yeah.
And so they jumped on board and they joined in for
Awesome.
us for this year and stuff. And so we were able to get the first 2 games played, or I say first two, really the first 2 rounds played.
Mhm.
And then rain, of course, like which we've been dealing with, so much this season already. Ruined, I don't say ruined, but like kind of killed off the
Yeah.
championship 3rd place round temporarily. So like the last time I've talked to my athletic director, and we have like this big trophy that we're gonna have to crown somebody like Rowan County Cup champion. And so um we we're talking about what, with teams like, okay, what would be the best day, to play. So
Mhm.
it's more about trying to schedule around now the schedule, that exists already. So
Yep.
I hope, fingers crossed, it works out.
Yeah.
West Rowan and I talked about like, well, what are we going to do if, for next year, because the seedings of next year's tournament is based on the actual wins and losses in
Right.
this tournament this year. So
Yeah.
uh we kind of discussed like, okay, well, if we can't play, like, what are we going to do? And so we're still kind of working out those kinks. So I don't know how that's going to turn out. I'm hopeful that we can get all these matches back in and stuff, but you never know. I mean,
Yeah.
the rain, the weather, we can't control it, and we just
That's
try to make the best of things. So But
That's
it's
right. Well,
exciting that this tournament's coming back, and I know the players are really excited about it and everything. And so because they have in middle school kind of a same kind of thing.
yeah,
That's how they end the season. And so for us to start the season like that, they're seeing a lot of their teammates, former teammates and stuff, and they're playing against them. So there's that rivalry there, it's exciting. So
definitely. Well, who's left in it?
for the tournament,
Yeah.
so it would be us versus West Rowan for third place round.
Okay.
And then we have Ale Brown and South Rowan. We're gonna battle it out for the championship,
Oh, nice.
pretty much
Okay.
that's that.
Cool.
So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, hopefully you can get that all squared away. I'd love to see it come to an end and see who comes away with it, especially to gear up for next season. Well, Coach, I appreciate your time with us today, as always. Again, you seem to be our first repeat every time we roll things around, so it's pretty awesome to have you now as not only the first repeat, but now first three-peat. So,
Well, it's an honor. I mean,
yeah,
I'm very excited to come on to this, and be able to showcase and talk about some of my players and the hard work they put in, because that's in the end, that's what you want to do as a coach. You want to highlight your players and what they're doing, positively for your team. And so it's exciting to be able to do that.
yeah, absolutely. Well, that's Coach Lauren West, the head coach for the Carson girls and boys soccer teams. We certainly appreciate your time, Coach. Thank you for joining us again today.
Appreciate you having me.
Absolutely.